All right. Have you ever wondered, and I want you to seriously think about this. You're driving your car right now. If you're at home, you're in the office, you're listening to this. Have you ever wondered why the top 3% of sales professionals really make 80 to 90% of all of the money that's ever made? And my next guest, Mr. Bob Phibbs, is going to help answer why that is. So let me give you a small taste of this man's incredible background. Bob is an internationally recognized business strategist, customer service expert, sales coach, marketing mentor, author of 3 books, and motivational business speaker. In 1994, I'm going to go deep dive. Phibbs started his retail consulting company. You can Google it. It's called The Retail Doctor. Very impressive, Bob. I was actually just on there. His clients include some of the largest retail brands in the world, including, hopefully I'm pronouncing this, I'm from Arkansas. We don't know how to pronounce. Bernia, Brother,
Bernina.
Caesar's Palace. Obviously, we know who that is. Hunter Douglas, Lego. My kids love Lego. Omega, Hearts on Fire, Vera Bradley, and of course, Yamaha. Just have one of those 4-wheelers. One of the top retail influencers of 2018 and a top voice on LinkedIn, Phibbs is also an American Express merchant advisor, IBM retail futurist, and Retail Wire Brain Trust partner. He's appeared on ABC, Fox, MSNBC, PBS, and he and his work have been featured in articles in Entrepreneur, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal, and he performs business makeovers as well for the Los Angeles Times. I'm curious on that one. With over 30 years of experience beginning in the trenches of retail and extending to senior management position, Phibbs has been a corporate officer, franchisor, and entrepreneur. He received the highest increase in sales. This is big. In sales from South Coast Plaza, at the time, the highest grossing mall in the United States of America. So please, welcome to the show, Mr. Bob Phibbs. Bob, how are you?
Yay, it's Bob.
Rah, right?
Rah. Thanks.
Hey,
Good to be here, Jeremy.
Hey, and I am really excited to have you on here. And I love, with my company, I love talking with other trainers about human behavior and how that applies to really being a top salesperson in what you sell. And I'm pumped to have you on the call today. As I went through your site, I'm like, wow, this guy gets it, because there's some people I've had on the show that don't get it as well as other people, and you, my friend, get it. So here's what I want to do. I want to dive right into your story and give the listeners, let's say, a feel for your background and how you arrived at this point where you're one of the elite authorities on sales, persuasion, especially in that retail space. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background? How did it start out for you? Like, how did you learn all these sales skills?
So, well, first off, thanks for having me here today. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, and I did not have a allowance. We're going back into the early 60s before most of you were even born. And I, for whatever reason, was looking at probably Boy's Life, which is a magazine we'd get once a week or once a month. And they always had these opportunities for things you could do. And one of them was to sell seeds door to door. I was like, yeah, that's not going to be me. But somehow I decided to do greeting cards.
Okay.
And I'm in 4th grade, and I'm knocking on doors to sell people in the middle of July that they want to get embossed Christmas cards, and then they're delivered to them in October. And I think back to that as like, but it was a different time, right? Because I was in the Scouts, and they would literally drop you off. You were a 7 or 8-year-old, you and a buddy. They drop off at one end of a block, and they'd say, we want you to knock on doors to get donations for whatever. And we just did it. And then the car would go down, and they'd meet you like 3 or 4 blocks down the way in the winter. Nobody was holding our hands. There's no GPS. Nobody's like, oh my God, someone's going to steal you. That's just what we did. So I think that, frankly, our innocence made us a little bit more fearless. I think that's certainly one thing. But, I put myself through college selling shoes, and I ended up getting my degree.
What did you sell shoes for? I have to ask.
Nunn Bush Shoe Shops.
Okay, then.
It's a... they were high-end Sorry, I had a text come off and I should just turn my phone off. Damn it, I hate that. All right, so let's go back. So Nunbush shoes was Florsham Nunbush. They were, you would typically go to a boutique to buy footwear. You would not go and do this where you went into a department store in those days. And so in the mall, they had a brand new mall in Glendale, California, and it ended up that I got a job there, and I worked at a part-time job in the summer, and then I was commuting back to Chapman College in Orange County, and you had to live in the dorms for 2 years, but then I ended up living at home in Glendale and commuting. So I get my degree. I was going to be a conductor, and I get my degree, about to get my degree, and you have to go through student teaching. And one day I walk into Irvine High School, and there's 30 teenage boys trying to play Stairway to Heaven on untuned guitars. It was like, there's not enough gin on this planet for me to do this.
Right.
So I said, now what am I going to do? And I thought maybe I'll be a conductor. And I wrote to a bunch of conductors in New York, and they wrote back like, yeah, you got to have mad skills in the piano. And I'm like, I suck at piano. So I guess my part-time job becomes my career. And ultimately I ended up going to a little Western group of Western stores, and Western was really big back then. Dynasty and Dallas were huge in the 80s. And I got my first house when I was 23 because I figured it out. It was like, so if I do this and I do that, then I make money. It's like, nice.
That's a good.
And yeah, exactly. And they paid you 10% of whatever bonus you went over the year before, the goals. It was like, sweet. That's the mark of a salesman. Like, how high, how many widgets do I have to sell? I'm going to jump over that. So, it agreed with me basically, and ended up building this little company, which had only 4 or 5 stores to 55, the largest in the United States. And one day the owner asked at a meeting, there's about 50 of us there, and he goes, so tell me, what's the company's greatest asset? I said, well, that's easy. It's employees. And like, wrong. And I was like, wrong. Well, that'll be interesting. Yeah. So people go around the room, nobody gets it right. Finally, he goes, it's customers.
Yeah.
I'm like, huh. Went downstairs to him after the meeting. I go, we built this business based on employees that I trained and worked with, and they're loyal to me, and they're loyal. Sure. Customers are fickle. They'll go anywhere. Anybody has a cheaper price, they're gone. They don't have any loyalty. And I can't work for a company like this. I'm out in 2 weeks.
Right.
And I got to the final day, and no one talked to me for 2 weeks till 5 o'clock. I'm supposed to show up. And the guy's supposed to take my keys, come a district manager. And I call up the local radio station. I go, at 5 o'clock, I need you to play Kathy Mattea's Walking Away a Winner. It was a kind of a hit back then.
Right.
And sure enough, the guy is there. He takes my keys, or I give them to him, whatever. And I hear the announcer come on. There's a strange request coming from Bob Phibbs. And I think at that time I was in Lakewood. He's walking out of a job of 14 years. I was like, sweet. And so I heard that, and that was great. And 3 months later, I was like, well, now what, dude? I mean, it's like, I did that for them. I can do this for anybody, but I was still kind of flailing around. And I went to a Tony Robbins seminar in Universal Amphitheater, and Tony puts on a great show. But the one thing he said that really stuck with me is, you better come up with a brand nobody else can do better. And I literally left that meeting. It was all day. And the next morning I filed the patent for the retail doctor, the trademark.
And that's how it all started. That's interesting. I like that.
That was it.
That's a dramatic exit point from the job. I love that.
That's you got to have, people just piddle around with them. You got to market in your life. Like, this is a big deal, right?
You went out in style. So that leads us into this first question. You recently said that this could be a great time to be a salesperson in retail.
Absolutely.
You tell us why that is.
People are making hundreds of thousands of dollars in retail. You got to get your head out of, they're all Walmart, nobody's doing squat. Yeah. People are incented, people are bonus, people are commissioned. The smart ones understand, doesn't matter what it is. When I got the highest increase of sales, South Coast Plaza, they're one mall in the world.
Yeah.
And the owner comes down, they're like, what the hell do you do down here? And I go, what do you mean? You're beating the Tiffany's, Nordstrom, all these guys. What are you doing? And I said, doesn't matter what the widget is, dude. Yeah. Because I was from California, I say, dude. It doesn't matter what the widget is. As long as you understand you've got to engage a stranger, discover the shopper, and sell the merch.
Yeah.
Look, there's plenty of people that are nice out there. But you better have the idea that, I have to close the sale if I'm going to get it. And that's the problem with a lot of retail right now. Because if you went in, Jeremy, and you saw the shirt and you say, I want to get that shirt. And so you're looking, you don't find it, and you walk over to the clerk. Oh, do you have this in a large? No, but I can ship it to you. Oh, great. Well, they think that all they did was kick it down the can down the way. They don't realize no sale is complete till I try it on. The smart ones get it, and they're like, okay, so the goal is I got to get this guy's shirt off, and I mean that in the best way. The goal if you're selling footwear is I got to get their shoes off, because once their shoes off, you're mine. Once you're half naked in a fitting room, I can do anything with you. Like throw over a shirt and say, hey, try these pants. Hey, put this on, and you'll do it. And once guys find that shirt, I can say, Jeremy, this comes in 4 other colors. Great, I'll take them. I'm done.
Sure. And they might still order the other shirt too, but
they
you
might still order it because it
4
fits.
or 5 other things. Yeah.
But it's a matter of like, can we just get rid of Jeremy? Can we just get rid of this guy, please? Yeah. And so a lot of retailers suck. They're doing terrible. And, when I go shopping, it's kind of like when I go to concerts, it's work for me. When I go to shopping, it's work. Because I just sit there like, out of all the things in the world you could say to me, that was the best.
Sure.
That was the money shot for you.
You walk into a store and the retail person, the salesperson says, well, how can I help you? And what's your instant reaction? What is it most people say?
Leave me the hell alone, or ignore you, or I'm just looking.
I'm just looking. Yeah. Right. I'm just looking. So I wanted to ask you about that. If that happened, like when you go in and train people, you train these retail people what to say, I'm assuming to certain questions. That's probably the biggest objection I'm assuming they would get is when they come in and they say, well, how can I help you today? Welcome to the store. How can I help you?
Stupid question.
Yeah. What do you tell them to say to that person?
Because here's the thing. 80% of shoppers are in awareness stage. They know they want something. They just don't know what. So I like Pottery Barn. I'm open. But this idea that I'm going to walk in, can I help you with something? Oh, yes, I'm looking for a small little doily that's got green on it that matches the mint in my gum. No one's doing that. They're just like open. So you just say, good morning, and shut the hell up.
Yeah.
There's I like that. Mystery to a great greeting.
Yeah.
Good morning, shut the hell up.
No, and it's
morning,
also,
how are you today?
You're exactly right. And it's also about, helping them prevent that objection from ever happening in their mind. We train, like one of my largest clients is Kia Motors, and we train like 28 of their dealerships in Canada. And so in a car dealership, right, because we train all sorts of industries, but that industry up there. So a lot of times they get that same objection. They come in, obviously they're looking for a car because they just wouldn't walk into a car dealership randomly if they were looking for broccoli, right? So they have problems, they're looking for something. And instead of saying, hey, how can I help you? And the prospect automatically says, oh, I'm just looking. So that objection just comes up in their mind. You meet the objection before it even happens. Instead of saying, how can I help you? You say, oh, hey, welcome into the store. Are you looking around today? And when you say, are you looking around today? They're like, yeah, I'm looking. Oh, okay. Do you know what you're looking for? And you go right into it. And you prevent the objection from really even happening in their mind. And when you learn how to prevent objections from ever happening, the wall doesn't go up.
That's the key.
And when there's no wall, it's very easy to get them to become open to what you're offering. 100%. I like that. I wanted to ask you this. Who were some of your mentors, like in selling? Like, where did you learn those skills and how did they help you?
Well, I think you learn, certainly, again, I'm going to be dated because of where I grew up. But certainly Zig Ziglar would have been there because he always had great stories. Tom Hopkins, but a little too mechanical for me. The Alternative Choice and Porcupine Clothes and all of these assumptive clothes. There's always a name and a bullet point. And but it still comes back to, we're all just retreading some version of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Just shut the hell up. Get people to talk about them. They'll tell you everything you need to know if you just know the right questions to ask and not ask. And then just realize that no just means no today. It doesn't mean no forever. So how do you keep that journey alive, right? I mean,
well, it's just, you're right. You hit it right on the head. It's understanding and asking the right questions at the right time in the conversation that trigger that person to want to engage with you rather than want to get rid of you. And I see so many salespeople in anything, it doesn't matter what industry they're in, retail, whatever they sell, not understand that core principle and just talk about their features and benefits and how they have the best this and the best that, which, by the way, Doesn't every salesperson say that they have the best,
Yeah.
right? Like, how many times have you been in a store and that company or salesperson says, oh, well, we're the fifth best in the market? No, they all say they're the best, right? So when you say that, it like triggers sales resistance because they hear it so often. It goes in one ear out the other, and it creates a lack of trust right at the beginning of that conversation. Now, I want to ask you this. What does someone, we've got this pandemic going on right now. We've got a lot of stuff going on, especially here in the United States. Well, all over the world. We've got the coronavirus stuff. We've got the rioters, all just kind of stuff like that, just all going on, right? So you've got a lot of things going on in even an election year. So it's kind of crazy right now in 2020. But what does someone need to do to be really good at selling during all this stuff? Like, what do they need to do to help take away the distractions to their process?
Well, it all comes down to you gotta serve now to sell later. Quite simply, I have just ramped up just starting up some of my marketing, which has been down for a few months. And now I'm kind of, I want to be sure that I'm not going to wait for the wave to come. I want to be ahead of the wave. But, the biggest thing you got to do is monitor what you're putting in your head. I think it's probably old school, but, garbage in, garbage out. I have recommended to more salesmen over the years the recording called The Strangest Secrets by Earl Nightingale, #1 motivational speech ever done from the 50s. Sounds like your grandfather talking. But, in that 20 minutes, he does make the big point. We're about as happy as we make our minds up to be. And right now, it's everything you can do. 2008, I had a house in California I thought was going to sell easily. I had already bought a house in upstate New York. Didn't sell easily. The market crashes. I lose 4 of my best clients within a week. Right. I call them up. I go, so tell me, when am I going to see you again? And they said, well, Bob, let me put it this way. Our engineers who are in charge of new products are actually painting striping on all of the warehouse floors, which are the size of football fields. And the only reason they can do that, Bob, is one, we decided we weren't going to get rid of anybody during this downturn. But also there's absolutely no orders in our warehouses. We aren't going to see you for 5 to 10 years. It was like, wow, holy crap. Yeah. And at that point I said, I've got to get my head around it. And I listened to that recording of Strangest Secret for probably 20 times a week. Yeah. Over and over. I just knew the only thing I had to do was try to keep myself positive. And I think that's what most of us, that's going to be the challenge right now, because unfortunately, we are amped up and we are plugged in with our phones that are just constantly keeping us afraid. And sure, there's very little that you are going to learn today about the pandemic or the economy or anything else that's going to really make you money. So I just say, limit your viewing on that phone for maybe 15 minutes a day. Yeah. And turn off your notifications and just realize there's nothing that's going to say, here's $1 million and you get a free trip to Cabo. It's just not going to be that.
Well, yeah, it's exactly right. And it's easy to get lazy, in selling in times of economic expansion that we've really had the last, probably 5 years or so, maybe even 6 years. It's just kind of expanded since probably 2014, 2015, and then really amped up the last 3 or 4 years, And it's easier to sell during those times, but in times of economic contraction, every shortcoming the salesperson has, will only be magnified. Every shortcoming you have in the sales process will only be magnified and will result in lost sales for you as a salesperson and for the company you represent. So you have to get really good. You have to really invest in training and knowing the right words and the right questions to ask in that initial conversation. The sale is not made at the end of the sale with like some option or assumptive close. Not at all. That's just old school sales training from the dinosaur ages of selling back 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, when the customers just expected you to educate them about their product. But in our day and age with social media, the power of the internet, they already know everything about you. They already know who you are. They know what you do for business. They know your price points. They know who your competitors are. They really know everything about you by simply doing a Google search on their smartphone. And because of that newfound power, the consumer will no longer be manipulated or pressured by pushy salespeople because they know they have many choices to choose the exact product or service you sell. So you hit it right on the head. You have to learn the right questions in times of economic contraction to really set yourself apart if you want to earn a lot of money as a professional salesperson. If you don't,
It
you're
still
dead.
comes down to being brilliant on the basics, right? Either you know how to do it or you don't. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. Just realize that there's going to be a lot of people getting out of sales right now because it's going to be hard. It's like a lot of retailers. They're going to lose 10 to 20% of retailers around the world.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to happen. So understand that and say, well, what can I do instead? Or maybe I haven't thought of this being sales, but arts organizations are going to need sales because they're going to be able to get people in there. You're going to find all sorts of different things. I think we're going to hopefully get to the place where we start talking about entrepreneurship with kids and trying to get a sense of how do we develop that. And that could be a great time for you. But, it's either a will or a skill issue at this point. Yeah. Either you don't have the skill and you can fix that, or you don't have the will or you're on the fence, and that's not anything that anybody can help you with. That's looking in the mirror and saying, damn it, I'm going to go through this. I had a buddy of mine. He's a C-level executive at a major company. And he calls me 3 months ago as the coronavirus is setting in, and he's just being treated like crap. And I said, dude, you got to get the hell out of there. And he's like, well, I think I'll call them. I have an in with the owner, and I think I'll shout. Like, dude, the deck is stacked against you. Let's just get out of here. Let's the strangest secret, do some things. He did. To make a very long story short, he had 3 small boys and a wife, and ultimately he put it out there. He's going to start his consulting business and started getting his mind in the right place. And lo and behold, somebody contacts him because he would be perfect for a C-level exec at this other better company.
Yeah.
And he said, until I really realized that I just had to be open to it, I couldn't even think that was possible. And I said, that's where most of us are stuck. Yeah. We've decided that the one guy coming in has this much money, or the one woman has this much. And then you treat the other guy like crap, except the other guy has, 5 apartment buildings that could use your product. But you didn't treat him well enough, so all maybe you got is the one thing he came in for that day, and ultimately you settled for crumbs when you could have the feast. That's on you. That's not a skill issue. That's a will issue.
Yeah, and you think? Here's another question I have for you. Do you think is selling an acquired skill? Is it something you're born with? Is an acquired skill? Can anybody be a salesperson?
Since I'm a sales trainer, I would say yes. Anyone can be right.
Some people don't believe that, though.
I think it comes down to your fearlessness. I think it comes down to not that. It's like, if you've been a performer of some type, you probably can sell well. So if you've been in sports, if you've been singing, you've had markers where someone judged you, you'll probably be really good. If you have never had that, right? So nobody ever really said like, oh, that was a good job, or you did X, so you got this. Then that connection between what I do gets me this has to be built. And that takes some time. So that's all I would say, because you can teach anybody the process, but we've all had that loser's limp guy, the leads are really bad. It's raining, my competitors are often 30% off, and it's like, great, dude, you're crippled before you get out the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Rock on.
One of my mentors, always teaches this, and it's something that we've adopted with my company, is that, is selling something that you did, or is training something that you did, or is training something that you do. And it's 100% what you do if you want to be a top performer. If you look at any of the top performers in athletics, and in singing, in dance, in art, in anything in the world, they're always training to improve, because they know if they don't, they're finished. Does an NBA rookie just come in and train the first year and he's just an all-star and now he's just going to stop shooting the ball better? No, because he would stop being great. Everybody would surpass him. And I see so many salespeople. I read in Forbes editor, the average salesperson in North America spends less than $90 a year on training to actually improve their sales skills. And that's how they make their income. How embarrassing is that? So you have to really invest. You have to learn. You have to learn the right skills, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of training out there that's just old school. It might have worked 30 years ago, but the consumers in our day are completely different. They're just a different breed,
So
back in the 80s and 90s. Are you
teaching for your car dealers to throw the car keys up on the roof?
Yeah.
Make sure they tell them. I'll get them down. You're going to get a car today.
Yeah, there's old cheesy stuff like, hey, I've got a great opportunity for you. Well, yeah, back in the 80s, that might have worked, like Wolf on Wall Street. But in our day and age, we have an information age buyer. And it requires a different understanding. You have to think like a buyer rather than think like a seller. And when you start to think that way and you learn the right questions, because selling is obviously something that's acquired. You're not born out of your mother's womb with like, oh, I can just sell now. And one of the biggest myths I ever see out there is that, oh, well, that guy's got the gift of the gab. He'd be great at sales. Actually, no. I see salespeople that are really excited and can talk a mile a second. Actually, they're not that great at sales. They're average to low average because they scare people off. Today's top salespeople are at the best at asking questions and learning how to listen to what the customer means, not just what they're saying. That type of calm collectiveness as a sales professional far out earns the overly enthusiastic, excited salesperson that triggers the prospect to run the other way. You know what I mean, right? You go into Best Buy and it says, how can I help you? I'm so excited that you're here. Just looking, even though you're really there to look for something, right? So I'm glad you hit on that head because I think some people think that it's something you're born with. No, learning questions and learning how to listen, I'm sorry, anybody can learn that, right? If you want to be really good. Now, I want to ask you this. How important is it? And I want to ask you this. What are a few common reasons that you see? You train a lot of companies. You train a lot of salespeople in retail. What are a few common reasons why so many salespeople don't achieve their goals? Like, why are they not achieving their goals? Why don't they become great at selling?
Well, you first think that you can't do it.
Right.
We've all been there, right? It's too high a goal. I don't have the tools. So I think that's one. I think also, sales used to be easier, quite simply for most people. There wasn't as much competition. To your point, people decry the internet and, it's destroying it. And there's a lot of things that absolutely it is, but realize that everything can be replaced by the internet. My training, just about anything. I'll be surprised if I'm not a hologram in 10 years from now. Maybe they put hair on my head, but it's all about change. It's all about pivoting, and it's all about saying, is there something else I can do here? Is there a way? So I think that when you're not curious about that client anymore, or how to get across to them, or how to make it better, I think you start limiting yourself, and that's always tough because I think there's a lot of people that a sales position is just a job. It's not a career. And that's the other thing. Are you into it to be a salesperson, enjoy the game of it all and understanding it? Or are you pretty much an order fulfiller? And that's what I deal with when it comes to retail, that, the guy sees you have an Apple 11 on your, can I get this in, I don't know, silver? Oh, sure. It's right over here. Well, that wasn't the sale, dude. That was just clerking. So ultimately, how do you make that better? And that's what we're trying to figure out, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Now, virtual training, it's all what people are talking about, especially right now with the pandemic, right? Like, all my speaking gigs for the rest of 2020, obviously not happening, all canceled because of the virus stuff. I'm assuming that's the same way with you. I've got a lot of friends that train from stage. So all my corporate events canceled as well. It's fine. But virtual training.
It's not fine. That's bullshit. It's not fine. It sucks.
Well, it sucks, right?
It sucks, Jeremy, because that means that the chance for us to change people's life has been thwarted. And I resent that because I will only get a shot or two in a lifetime with somebody. So I'm losing 8 months to be able to change somebody's life. So for me, there's an economic side to it too. But
well, let's talk about
there's no Zoom, like what we're doing here. I would never want to do this in place of what I do in person because you don't have the energy, you don't have the synergy, and more importantly, you don't have the focus because there's other things around here. When I'm in a room with you and I'm like, oh, I get the feeling here. It's like, dude, so we're going to be back. We're going to be back. And we have to remind ourselves that, and consumers are going to be back too, that, they are going to be jaded for the next 3-4 months, especially as we hear, oh, somebody's peaking and someone else is going up and this and that, because we like certainty. People buy on hope. Yeah. We don't buy on, holy crap, am I going to be I going to be alive next month? Am I going to have a job next week? So for all of us, I think it's just really important to stay focused that, this is temporary. We're going to get through it. And I don't think I answered your question. So get back to your
virtual
thing.
Training. You've been doing it for 6 years. Tell us why you've been doing that.
Quite simply, I work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and I'm full of myself. When I first started, my God, the times that I would say in a conversation, just like, please burn anything you saw of me back then, because I was all about me. And then you learn that it's about somebody else, and you're like, oh, okay. And so I've lost my train of thought again already, dude. Ask me that one more time.
The virtual training.
Oh, virtual training. So the thing is. Yeah. So I started virtual training because I work with these big brands, and I would either do a 2 or 3 day event, or we do even something short. And they would say, that was amazing. I love it. How do I go deeper? And it's like, here's my book.
Right. Like, right.
Great. Because I don't want to get a gig. I don't want to be an on-person trainer. That's not me. I am much more grandfather, and here's my words of wisdom, and now you go and do it. So I started looking for about 10 years ago for a platform, and I found an awful lot of it was a pixelated head, and it talked to you, and they're passive. And I said, with my speaking schedule, I go all around the world, and how do I take what is uniquely what I do and condense it? Because in the reality, people want bite-sized lessons. They want trackability. They want to hold people accountable, and they want to know that it works. So I took everything. It took me 2 years, $150,000 to put together. And we launched it, and we only launched with 23 lessons, and now we have 120 on salesrx.com. But the thing that I've most appreciated is, if you agree with my worldview, I am your trainer.
Yeah. If
you don't agree with my worldview, you will hate me. Yeah. Because you're going to think, to your point, oh, can we just get this done? How do I just get my employees through this in a couple weeks? Or can they just do it all at once? And you're like, dude, seriously, you can't do anything like that.
If you want to be great, if you want to sell, like if you want to be able to help people solve their problems, that's why they're coming into your store.
Can you imagine? Jeremy, it's easy. I'm going to teach you how to be Billy Joel. Okay, this is D major scale. There it is. Got it?
Yeah.
Piano Man, go for it.
I get it. I love it. I love it. We're on virtual training as well. We use a platform as well, virtual training. Maybe even the same platform. I don't even know. What's your platform on?
Silence. No, I'm on Lightspeed.
We are the same. All right. Good for you, man. Brother from another mother. I love it. Yeah. Great platform. Hey, great interview, Bob. I respect your time. I know we only had about 30 to 35 minutes today. Thanks for being on here. Very valuable. And I know a lot of people listening to the show are in retail. Very valuable for them, but very valuable for anybody that sells anything or that's looking to learn how to become persuasive at whatever you do. Do you have any final thoughts or advice for our listeners before we go?
Just remember, people buy based on hope. And so how do you bring that into a sales position? It's one of the... and it might be old school for you. You might hate it. But, when someone says, I have to think about it, bad salespeople, bad clerks be like, is it too much money? Are you afraid it's like the wrong time, like with everything? And they just start going through all the things like, well, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, maybe. And you just say, so I have to think about it. So Jeremy, what do you have to think about? And then you just shut the hell up.
Yeah.
They'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
But especially now, we are so caffeinated and ready to go. It's like, I can do this. I can make you. It's like, dude, seriously, you can't make them do something. Just get out of your own way and realize that people buy from people they trust. Yeah. And unless you can make me like you, doesn't matter. And that's the big thing, whether you're a sales rep, you're working in a store, you're selling pharmaceuticals, healthcare, it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Yeah. People buy from people who they feel like can get them the best result, who can solve their problem the best, If they feel like
they could, I didn't mean to interrupt you. If they feel like they could give you the keys to their car, that's it.
100%.
Unless they feel like that, you're going to have a struggle.
So Bob, where can our listeners learn more about you and your training? How can they get involved in that?
Well, you could just Google me and you'll find me pretty easily. But The Retail Doctor or salesrx.com, or certainly just go to retaildoc.com. And I've also got a Facebook and 400,000 followers on LinkedIn and all that stuff. You'll find me.
Okay, perfect. So retaildoc.com. I want to give them one website they can go to so they're not going to 7. So let's have them retaildoc.com. They're going to learn more about you. Maybe if they're a business owner, they want to book you for their retail business. They can book you there. They can get your training materials virtual so they can have their salespeople going through it. I love it. Everybody should do it, 100%. Bob, it's a pleasure having you on here. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Jeremy. Thanks so much, man.
Now, if you're serious about joining the top 1%, I mean the top 1%, and you want to experience more training content just like this, click the links right over there. Right over there, they're exactly what you need to see next. You see, I release new episodes featuring top salespeople and sales authorities, multiple 6-figure, high 6-figure, even 7-figure earners. And if you're new here, do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button right below, and join our new Facebook group, Sales Revolution. You see, it's free, and there's a link in the description below just for you. We put it there for you. Finally, I make posts on Facebook and Instagram each and every day with more tips and training, so be sure and follow me and turn on your notifications. So make a comment in the first 7 minutes to any of my latest posts, share this episode, and there's a very real chance that you're going to win some killer prizes. And here's the thing, don't sit on the sidelines. Don't be like everyone else. Get into the game. Join the sales revolution. Stay active, get involved, learn the right skills, and we will show you how to take your life and income to a level that most only dream about.